I want to talk a little bit about the function of HBAR, and like we're talking about marketing, right? And I remember I was saying things like I'm bullish on HBAR, bearish on Hedera, those different types of things, and we've had those conversations around why. I know the argument against that is, well, if you can't be bearish on one and not the other. And so what we can look at is kind of what is the function of HBAR in the ecosystem and kind of how does it work. So right over here, let's take a look at, oh yeah, I've got my pencil tool. Is that coming through on the stream? Yeah. Let's see here. Let me go. I can't remember how to use MS Paint. But basically it's like you've got hash graph here, okay? And basically with hash graph, that is the organization that is charged with marketing, and it's charged with promoting and building and maintaining the network, right? Yet the marketing used to be kind of the HBAR foundation, but this is kind of hash graph, right? And then you've got Hedera, okay? So we've got Hedera, we've got hash graph, and then we have, the hash graph group, the hash graph association, also to hash graph ventures, right? What's Hedera? Dude, Hedera is a good, Patches is in the house, dude. Man, call in. I don't know if this link is posted here, but call into the show, brother. So we've got Hashgraph, we've got Hedera, we've got all these different orgs over here, Hashgraph Ventures, the Hashgraph Association, all that kind of stuff. And then over here, we've got HBAR and holders. Now, for the sake of this conversation, I know a lot of people will be like, what's a holder? What's an investor? What's a SAFT investor? What's a whatever? Whatever it is, we've got HBAR holders, we got HBAR buyers, right? We got people buying. These are people who are buying it. So this is kind of this is the fuel of the network, obviously, and also too we've got let's do enterprise users, right? Enterprise and users. So Hashgraph, right? Let's use a text tool here. Hashgraph is access my font. Yes. Marketing, maintaining. A lot of these folks are on Hyro, right? And I guess how many employees do they have? I think maybe it's like, 150 to 200 people, maybe. I don't know. That's what I've heard. So there's that, right? So there's Hashgraph, right? And then Hedera, we have the board. We've got the governing council. We've got committees, right? And so, and I also too, what they will do is these Hedera, the governing council, they vote on new features from Hyro, and they govern the network. Okay. And also too, we have, I'm going to do, oops, I got to choose the right tool. Maybe I spelled that wrong. I don't know, but we got Hyro, right? So Hyro is the open source. This is the open source ledger tech, right? So let me, and for those unfamiliar with Hyro, this is actually pretty sick. So we got Hyro. I'm happy to be on the TSC with some of these fine folks. And basically what this is we've got the Hedera network built on the Hashgraph technology, not to be confused with the Hashgraph organization. And essentially You have the technology now living under the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. And this is also kind of cool, right? Like, I know that we're talking about Hedera marketing today, and it's like a not fun topic, but there's some cool stuff happening in this spot. Where do I see the members again? Oh, members. Okay, so DTCC, right? This is the clearinghouse. They're a premier member. Hedera, premier member. We got American Express. We got Accenture. We got Exponential Science. These guys are in a they're in a lawsuit with Hedera for stealing, like, I think it's like $70 million of HBAR. Allegedly, not financial advice, not legal advice. We got Hashgraph, we got Hashlock. Those guys are cool. Hitachi, IO Builders, just acquired or invested in by Hashgraph. We've got IBM, OGs, right? So this is a group. This is the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. And the whole thing is that, you know, this is part of the pathway to decentralization, right? Is what if it wasn't just the governing council charged with approving HIPs, coming up with ways to improve the network? What if we could open it up to a broader open source community? And on the other side too is when you have enterprises, they want to use technology that is in kind of approved repositories or in approved systems. And the Linux Foundation is a way that those enterprises can, you know, say, hey, I want to use this technology, check that box, boom, let's integrate it. So that is a good development in this area. So that's Hyro. Now, how does this all connect? So I want to choose a different color. I'll use green for like moving in or profit, and then I'll use red for selling or whatever. So Hashgraph has obviously, so they've got marketing, they've got maintenance, they've got they've got folks on Hyro, they've got a bunch of employees, all those different types of things, and they have costs, right? So they're trying. Oh, I don't want this to be red. I want this to be normal. Trying to create new products to generate revenue, sustainable growth of the Hedera ecosystem. Okay, so that's their job, right? This is what they're doing. And so, and then let's maybe add a little bit more context here. So the enterprise user side, right? These folks are things like wallets, dexes, NFTs, shitcoins, retail or whatever apps. But then also it's stuff like enterprise, institutions, use cases, anything that is people that pay HBAR to use the network, right? That's this kind of stuff, right? The enterprise, the end user, these are people who are building applications, building businesses, and they want to use the network, so they purchase HBAR and they pay for transactions. And that is what makes this number go up, right? So if we look at, let's see. Yeah, so let's zoom in on like a month here. So network fees, these are the fees that are generated by people paying for transactions on the network. This revenue goes back into the Hedera treasury, and that's what brings sustainability for the network. So when we look at this, what we've got is we've got a few things. So on the earnings side, right, end users, So these folks are going to be, these folks are going to be buying HBAR, right? And they're going to be paying HBAR. They're going to be feeding in to the ecosystem, right? And also too, like maybe we'll do a thing here where we go. I'll do one called investment. I don't know how else to put it, but this is like or maybe I'll do it in blue. This is like a little different. Investment would be stuff completely outside the ecosystem. So like people that are investing in companies, people that are purchasing product that earn these end users money. So let's say an end user here is like, let's say it's Walmart, right? And they're using Hedera technology for whatever, right? That product or service or feature is going to be utilized by outside, investment or users or whatever it might be from the marketplace. And that end user of Hedera is going to be buying HBAR, and they're going to be sending HBAR through paying transaction fees and revenue into Hedera. And then Hedera's treasury grows, right? So that is a little bit of a sustainability flywheel for Hedera. Now, the other thing is that you might have folks at the Hashgraph Group, the Hashgraph Association, Hedera Ventures. These folks are also going to be, I don't know if that should be red or green. I don't know. Maybe it's both. So these folks are going to be working with and giving money and supporting these folks that are building use cases on the network and moving it through. Okay. So that's kind of what's going on here. And these folks have been in a tough position, right? I've got wallets, DEXs, NFTs and stuff. There isn't a ton of outside investment coming in. There isn't a ton of investment from these groups coming in, just because we used to be on a grant funding type model. Now that's kind of shutting down. They really would like to get, they want to get equity for this stuff, right? Oh my God. So we've got right here, let's say equity. Oh my God, I screw-barred that up. We've got equity, okay? So they're taking some equity for some investment or some grant funding or whatever it might be. Let's just call that funding, right? So they're funding, they're moving stuff. Maybe they're taking some equity and stuff. And this end user, they're getting juiced up as much as they can. And when I say end user, again, I'm not so much talking about an app or a project or an HBAR holder or whatever. These are people that are users of this network, okay? And these HBAR holders are using their outside capital or wages or hard-earned money. And actually, let me make this red maybe. They are using that to purchase HBAR, right? They're buying, they're purchasing, they're doing all these types of things. This stuff ladders up into Hedera. Okay. Now, where does Hashgraph come in and where does Hyro come in? So Hyro doesn't come in so much in the money or HBAR type of things. This is kind of an open source community with a technical steering committee that's volunteer and kind of different communities. So over here, if we look at Hedera, these folks need to be funded somehow, right? There's a little bit of outside investment, especially in the early days, that goes to this to kind of bootstrap it, get it off the ground. Or actually not to Hashgraph. That was to Swirlds Labs. So maybe we'll go like this. Oh my God. Okay. So we've got some outside investment coming in. And Hedera has and again, this is all on chain, right? You can go and look this up and everything like that. So Hedera has the treasury, right? This is where all of HBAR converges. And what Hedera does with that treasury, what the governing council does with that treasury, is they vote and they decide where they're going to disperse those funds for ecosystem growth, right? And they'll disperse those funds to organizations like, they'll disperse those to folks like THG, THA, all those different types of things. They'll disperse those funds into these organizations. These organizations help with ecosystem development with the end users that helps drive growth. Now, sometimes some of this funding, like if folks remember Atma.io, sometimes that funding will be used to pay for transactions. So it's not necessarily new capital coming into the network. But what it's going to be is it's going to be subsidized transactions into the network to give them a taste of the functionality or whatever it might be. So a lot of this, and I wonder if I could do a bigger thing. I'll make this one stronger. Very, very strong. Very, very, very strong. Okay. So Hedera is giving money into here. That's funneling into end users of the network, the wallets, the dexes, boom, boom, boom. We're getting a bit of a cycle here. And also too, Hedera sends billions of HBAR to Hashgraph. So we'll just go, right. So this HBAR will go to Hashgraph. Now Hashgraph is where a lot of these things converge, right? We should also add as well. We should put heat here as well. So Hashgraph then is tasked with becoming self-sufficient, because currently what Hashgraph does is they don't make any money as far as I know yet. And they're not necessarily a startup, and they're not necessarily an enterprise, right? They're kind of unique in that regard, where they are tasked with, building up the network and doing these types of things. And they have a large team, right? They have a very, very large team of employees, and these employees have benefits and vacations and all these different types of things. It's the full kit and caboodle, right? But it's not a company where that money was generated in a self-sufficient way. How it was generated is people buy HBAR to create demand for HBAR to move the price up. And that HBAR will be given to these organizations from the Hedera Governing Council. And then these organizations will take their HBAR and very transparently and very by the books, will sell that HBAR to holders. And so they'll sell that HBAR to holders. And then that kind of starts to complete the cycle here, right? So what we're seeing here is we've got HBAR holders. This is where the demand is. People need to buy HBAR. Why do they need to buy it? Well, they want to buy it because they're speculative investors or traders. They believe in the future and the vision set for the Hedera network, and they believe that the price of HBAR will increase over time, and they believe that they'll be able to earn some yield through staking rewards. So they purchase HBAR. That creates demand and keeps the HBAR price stable or moving up. And then the main holder of HBAR, the Hedera Governing Council Treasury, will use that and pass it along to these organizations to keep their teams and their staff employed, will sell that HBAR back into the marketplace. And so that's kind of the cycle. And when we look at enterprise users and use cases like wallets, DEX, all these different types of things, those folks are also dependent on the stability, the price stability and appreciation of the HBAR asset, because a lot of these folks have their treasuries in HBAR as well, and they're dependent on that asset being liquid. And you can see kind of the red lines I've drawn here are very strong, because there is a lot of selling happening. And the risk here is with Hashgraph, with a large team of, quite a few people, and developing a lot of products and doing, sustainable growth and kind of being tasked with a lot of the marketing and different things. This is a lot of the areas. And again, this is challenging stuff to do. But we have to be realistic and say, when we look at the longevity of the network, where is a lot of the pressure coming from, right? And it's coming from these kinds of entities. And what we need to have happen is we need to have Hashgraph start to become self-sufficient, because these actually maybe I'll use red. So they've got these employees, right? They've got a lot of employees. I don't know the exact number, but it's a decent amount of employees, right? And when we look at salaries and we look at all these different types of things, this is where I think we really want to be mindful of how all this stuff is funded, because to fund their operation, they need to have revenue. And currently, to do that, they sell their treasury of HBAR to support that. And what they're doing to generate revenue is they are building products, right? So Hashgraph as a company, they've got HashSphere, which is of course the private implementation of the Hashgraph technology. This is so a corporation can use the Hashgraph technology in a private network. They can send information to the public network. They can have that interoperability, all that different type of stuff. Also, they've got Clipper, which is kind of like a bridgeless kind of solution to kind of bridge things across public and private networks. So this is a product that they have that they want to get to market. We also have Assetto, which is being able to do the issuance and managing of financial assets. This is developed by a firm that Hashgraph has an investment in, IO Builders. So that's another thing, is you'll also have Hashgraph and some of these other entities. We'll add another, maybe, is that blue? We'll add another blue thing here. We already have investments here. So what we'll do is we'll say Hashgraph, maybe Hedera, but Hashgraph. Oops, that was a horrible line there. We'll have Hashgraph making investments as well, right? So they want to invest in things like IO Builders. They want to invest in products and companies that could earn them revenue as well. And these are, this is kind of just going off of what's been published in different things. So when we look at how that functions, this is kind of really what we're banking on. Is we want to bank on the fact that one of the main spenders of HBAR, Hashgraph, will become self-sufficient. So the flywheel of growth can really, really, really get started. And I think that this is where some of the confusion around HBAR kind of comes in. I think a lot of people are wary of, quote unquote, pumping HBAR or doing too many things like that. But we do need to have this demand creation. We do need to have people buying HBAR. And I guess a problem we've had in the past that actually we've seen some improvement in, which is good, like with new exchange listing and Kraken and stuff like that, is we want to have this be accessible and easy to purchase for as many people as possible. And that was a big challenge in the past. Not so much now, but that was a big challenge in the past. And we really want this to be an attractive asset for people, because, and this is where things can maybe get a little scary, is if HBAR isn't an attractive asset to purchase, then all of this kind of falls apart, right? All of this kind of starts to crumble and fall apart. And that's why it's so important for Hedera, the network, to really understand where holders are at and understand what makes this an attractive asset for people. One of those things could be, let's see here, staking. We got MS Paint, dude. MS Paint. One of these could be staking, right? Staking rewards are still kind of very low, but that's something that could be good. Also, too, buybacks, right? Buybacks are really important because as Hashgraph starts to build more revenue and starts to become self-sufficient, right? Let's say some of their products and services really take off, then Hashgraph starts to become profitable. So what it means is that they don't have to sell HBAR anymore to holders to pay for their employees and salary and overhead and different things. So that would be really, really great if we can get these use cases off the ground. Hashgraph would no longer need to sell HBAR to pay for their operations. And what we want them to do is we want them to start buying HBAR. We want them to start becoming a net buyer of HBAR and doing buybacks and different things, because that further helps the appreciation of things. So we start to see, this is when people talk about adoption, when people talk about sustainability of this network, we want to kind of start to reverse the system. Right now, a lot of these organizations, to keep them afloat, it's dependent on selling HBAR into the open marketplace. And feel free to push back in chat at all or anything like that. It's all dependent on selling HBAR back into the marketplace and selling HBAR to folks like you and I. And the reason that we buy it is we trust these entities to execute on the vision that they've set. And we expect to make a return on our investment. I don't think there's any living soul out there that buys HBAR that doesn't expect to earn some money doing that. Otherwise, no one would buy it, right? And again, if no one's going to buy HBAR, all of this, the music kind of stops. The game of musical chairs stops. And that's really when I talk about being bearish on Hedera and bullish on HBAR. What I'm trying to get at is this flywheel that needs to be reversed. And it's been quite a long time. And part of the reason it's been a long time is the governing council members, right? We've got the governing council. These folks are, Fortune 1000 companies, right? Isn't that what the Hedera account says? Hold on. Yeah. Fortune 1000 companies. So these are big wigs, right? We're not messing around, right? We got Avery Dennison, we got BitGo, we got Chainlink, we got Dell, we've got Google, right? There's big names on there. Where am I? Where's my tabs? Oh, hell yeah, we got 146 people in here. So. Fortune 1000 companies. Now, the hope was to have governing council members become end users, right? What we really want is we want to see Google. We want to see Avery Dennison. We want to see all these governing council members. And I mean, the list is impressive, right? Like, let's look at the governing council, right? Accenture, Aberdeen, Australian Payments Plus, DLA Piper, FedEx, Google, Hitachi, LG, Mondelez, McLaren, Mangaloo, ServiceNow, Standard Bank, Ubisoft, right? Like these are names, right? Now, let's look at Ubisoft. When did they join? 2022, 4 years ago. Okay. Standard Bank, 5 years ago. McLaren, fresh out the gate, baby. Fresh out the gate. Mondelez, 2 years ago. LG, 6 years ago. Google, 6 years ago. Hitachi, 2 years ago. FedEx, fresh out the gate, hot and ready. Dell, 3 years ago. BitGo, 2 years ago. Avery Dennison, 6 years ago. So, we've got some fresh folks. And I think there's two classifications of Hedera governing council member, right? Very recently, that problem was addressed by the governing council. You can read it in the meeting minute notes. They went, we have a bit of a situation here. These governing council members are joining the governing council and they're not building use cases. So they changed the rules of joining the Hedera council to say that you must have a use case either in production or getting ready to go, or you're not allowed to join the governing council. I think that's a great thing. And also what I think is a great thing is they got rid of some governing council members that sucked, that didn't show up for governing council meetings. There are many governing council members that did not show up for a Zoom call, which is insane to me. And again, made people, that kind of stuff, right? That kind of stuff makes these people sad. And nothing works without these people. Without these people, without HBAR holders, without people buying HBAR, everything falls apart. All of this goes away, right? Without these folks, you can kiss the governing council goodbye. You can kiss Hedera goodbye. All these 150 or some odd people, they all lose their jobs. Marketing people, bye-bye. All these organizations, Hashgraph Group, Hashgraph Association, Hashgraph Ventures, RIP. Investors, they're just going to go buy Solana. They're going to go buy Canton. They're going to go buy whatever. Hyro, open source, Linux Foundation goes, this blows, no motion, no aura, bad vibes, peace out. So that kind of falls apart. So we are really dependent on these people and HBAR holders, and we're also dependent on end users, right? Wallets, DEXs, NFT creators, meme coins, apps, and then the enterprise use cases, all those different types of things. People that buy and pay an HBAR to use the network. We're really dependent on this stuff, right? And folks that get a bunch of free HBAR to use the network don't count. That doesn't really generate any meaningful revenue or sustainability for the network, right? So without the governing council building use cases on the network, it creates kind of like a twofold problem. On one hand, it's just like, it's just in general bad vibes, right?
But they haven't deployed.
Yeah, I know. And basically it just creates bad vibes and it makes, HBAR holders sad.
Yes.
And basically what we want to see is HBAR holders happy, and we want to see end users happy, because it could be huge.
Oh, it's enormous.
And that's really what it's about. And until this happens, there's so much pressure that is put on the governing council. There's so much investment made in doing this, and there's been so many problems that there was something created called heat. And I don't know what color to use for heat. Yellow. Does yellow show up? I've got these glasses on, so I can't see colors properly. Let's do, I don't know. I don't want to use red because it implies it's bad, but it's heat. Let's do fire. Okay. So heat was created because everybody was like, OMFG. They got on the phone with the governing council and they were like, brother, what are you doing? We haven't deployed.
But they haven't deployed.
And essentially, this is kind of in a standstill. Now, like I said, we've got two different classifications, if you will, of governing council members. I would say anyone who joined in 2026 is juiced up. These are people that would not be allowed to join the network if they didn't have use cases on the way, right? As we've talked about. Accenture is one of those. BitGo is building stuff on the network, right? I would say Repsol, right? Last year, just before Christmas, just in time for the holidays, they must have been under that criteria. McLaren as well. I mean, McLaren's doing NFTs. They're doing drops. They've got the Hedera logo on their racers patches. Kind
of a major thing.
Yeah. And I think that McLaren is one of those ones that's building some stuff. Mondelez, I don't know. I ate one of their Oreos. Ubisoft is one of those ones that could probably go. Get rid of Ubisoft.
Yes.
I haven't heard from WePro. Get rid of WePro.
Yes.
IBM is old member. This is an old member. IBM, we can't. Do we get rid of IBM?
No.
Yeah, we can't because IBM actually wrote the Hedera consensus service standards for the network. Also, to jump in chat if anyone's we've just gone full. I'm deciding to go full Hedera autism right now. So we will get back to the Hedera war room shortly, but right now we're just doing some deep dives and studies into the system. EDF, FedEx also joined, so FedEx should be building some stuff, so that's going to be cool. But basically, we got two kind of main folks with HashGraph. So we have to get the governing council building use cases. So that's one thing. This is twofold, right? One thing is that we have to get them building, and ideally, we have to get them buying HBAR, paying to utilize the network, all those different types of things, right? It just makes it more sustainable. Here's the other thing. Let me flip it. HashGraph, we don't also have to have a situation where HashGraph is making money or is self-sustainable. That doesn't have to be the case either. HashGraph could also continue making no money. And if enterprise use case and enterprise users are using the network a ton and they're generating a ton of network revenue and they're sending a ton of HBAR to the treasury through network fees, right? If we're doing like thousands of transactions per second, we're doing millions of revenue per day, well then heck, Hedera can send tons of HBAR to HashGraph to keep everything rocking and rolling and keep the party going. Like it can work all different ways. But if we're not going to get the transaction or the traction that we want to have, or if it's going to take too long, there has to kind of be another way, right? Now, the other thing is maybe HBAR could pump, right?
We don't pump. You'll never see us pump.
Well, I'm saying if HBAR did pump, that means that there would be a drastic appreciation of HBAR price. And, it seems to be making some moves to the upside today. And if that happens, then you don't really need to, worry too much about that, because then all of a sudden, this treasury increases, everything kind of all the tides raise all ships. So there's all sorts of different ways that can go. I think what we want to see is this adults in the room, this enterprise focused chain. That's really what we want to see. And I know this is kind of a little all over the place. I gotta save this. Save as. God, I feel it. I literally am. My brain hurts. Hedera breakdown. Save it as a ping image. Okay. Good stuff. I'll also screenshot this just because I don't entirely trust it. This is gold right here. So there's that. So it's important to kind of understand like how this stuff kind of all connects together. But that's basically the gist of it is that we do have a big risk in the form of HashGraph not becoming profitable, either through success in adoption of the network or their ability to create product that can generate revenue for their company. The other challenge is that if Hashgraph is working on a lot of different products in the space, then that could be competing with the end users and other enterprises. So if we've got people trying to build things here and Hashgraph is building some similar stuff, what does that mean? That could also cause a problem. So there's a lot of complexities to figure out, but an oversimplification of it is that HBAR is needed to support the entire network, and it's really important for. I know I'm trying not to cut Lehman Baird off, and maybe we'll let him get in a word. I want to see if he has any thoughts on this chart.
If you want to be using those services, you have to have some HBARs, and you have to spend those HBARs to do those services, and they're very cheap.
Yeah, I mean it's true. And now, Lehman, if HBAR is not an attractive asset to buy, and if these organizations don't support holders, will the network be successful?
No.
And Nance, if you want to chime in, why could that be?
But they haven't deployed.
Sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity.
This is $1 billion opportunity. Kind of a major thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of major stuff that could happen. So I think that this is really what it comes down to. Yeah, it's Mance. And I mean, I have Mance on here, and I think that, he has some very strong opinions that I disagree with.
We don't pump. You'll never see us pump.
Yeah, well, I think that, we could make it happen. And I think that it could all go well. Like also too, things could go really well. I think another scenario I want to avoid is a scenario where we start to lose the retail base, right? We start to lose these people, and we start to lose these people because if who's the first to go away, right? If things were to go really bad, right? These people would start to dry up. They would say, well, this network is a ghost chain. No one's using it. We don't vibe with it. And, it's just not working for us. And the end user goes, well, where is the liquidity for my application? I don't know if I want to build here. And then these organizations are no longer needed really because people are kind of not wanting to build on the network, right? And outside investment kind of backs off because, there isn't a lot of stuff happening. And so what you're left with at that point is maybe HBAR is super low. It kind of is drying up. It's on its last legs. And you have Hashgraph that needs to start laying off and cutting back employee count. They've got to get some use cases going. But if they can't get use cases going, right, then Hashgraph starts to go away or pivot to other things or whatever it might be. And then you've got the Hedera Governing Council, and they've got to figure out what to do with the network. And they might go. And again, this is not, I don't see anything like this playing out. I just wanted to talk through kind of all the different types of things that could go down. Now, the one thing that we didn't touch on a ton is Hyro. And this is another reason why I'm bullish on this technology and why I love this technology is with the Hashgraph technology being open sourced up into Hyro, it's not like Hedera is going to be the only Hashgraph based network, right? If the technology is really good, other people are going to want to adopt it for their networks, and they're able to do it, and they're able to adopt the Hashgraph technology, create competing networks, all those different types of things. Now, are they going to be able to get these folks on board? And like Dell and all these folks? Probably not, right? These are big organizations, and this is what really the competitive advantage is for Hedera. This is what makes them special, right? But if things like this happen, then the governing council kind of starts to, how do you get council members involved? So it all comes back to HBAR holders, for better or for worse. And I think that what a lot of the things that HBAR holders are asking for is they're asking for, and also to end users, right? I think that these two are kind of largely interlinked, right? Largely interlinked. And this, like, if these, we need to give these folks what they need. This is where it all comes from. This is where it all sources from. And what they're all crying out for is better marketing of the network, right? They're asking for better traction to make HBAR more attractive for people, to make it easier to build use cases and businesses in the Hedera ecosystem. That's what they're asking for, right? They're asking for better staking. They're asking for buybacks. They're asking for support. They're asking that Hashgraph doesn't compete with them, right? They're asking for something that I think is a little lacking, which is, in the big scheme of things, and we'll kind of wrap up this segment on this note, which is what all of this is about is, it is about, actually maybe I'll use the pen here. It is about vision, right? Vision. What is the vision for the network, right? And this is where we come back to community nodes. This is where we come back to all these different types of things. Is the vision for this network is, and Lehman says this all the time, is that with most crypto networks, they start out decentralized and they become more centralized over time. And it's a fair criticism. When you look at Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever, a lot of the power is held in the hands of a few, and a lot of the infrastructure for the network is hosted on Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud and all those different types of things. With the governing council, Hedera has done a really good job where the council hosts all their own stuff. It's all distributed, all decentralized, and the goal of Hedera is they want to start more centralized and become decentralized over time, so anyone can run a node, so anybody can participate in the fair ordering of transactions, and that we become less and less and less reliant on the governing council and Hedera, right? And this system can start to be very self-sufficient, and Hashgraph can become not its kind of own thing. It can kind of shrink down into just one of these, or not shrink down per se, but the end user pool, the people using the network, would grow so much that Hashgraph would kind of just be another entity in there, and the governance up at Hyro for the ledger would grow. So that's kind of what we want to see, and that vision is called into question because of the removal of community nodes from the Hedera roadmap. Let me see here. Hedera roadmap. Network architecture. Block streams. Yeah. HIPs. Where's the roadmap though? Decentralization. So we've got Solo, which is a tooling and toolkit, but community nodes are something that's on a lot of people's minds, and that's what makes the network become more and more decentralized. So I guess that's the conflict when I say bearish on Hedera, bullish on HBAR. It comes down to marketing. What we're talking about here with all of this stuff is about that vision component, about that marketing component. And what that means is supporting builders in the ecosystem, using incentives for HBAR holders as marketing tools to bring them in to make this asset more attractive. What it means is getting the governing council to talk more about Hedera, to build on the network more, to participate more in the network's governance. That all takes marketing, that all takes communications, right? And that is Hashgraph's responsibility. That's kind of what their mandate is. And maybe let me make myself clear there. Hash. hash graph. Company about us, right? So Hashgraph is a growing enterprise software company with over 150 professionals across 20 countries, building services, blah, 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 led by CEO Eric Piscini, who oversees engineering, developer operations, security, marketing, business management, right? So this is kind of their zone. So I think that it is time to ask more of that, of this org, because we need them to kind of make this kind of stuff, to make this happen. We need them to poke at the governing council and say, you know, hey, we need more staking, we need more incentives, and we want them to become more effective and more efficient. And I think that some of the issue is when we have organizations, a big problem in the corporate space is you'll have executives, you'll have levels of management and employees, right? And then you'll have disconnects under too many layers. So the executives will say, hey, we need more active users, send it down the chain, and maybe the types of active users they get from hackathons or whatever it might be are very, very low quality that don't really drive growth on the network. But the shiny decks and the KPIs or whatever makes these folks happy. And so you kind of get stuck in a little bit of a reality distortion field that doesn't quite connect with the actual numbers, right? If the work that was being done in the network was making things happen, then over the last, how far back can we go with this? Am I going to break my computer? If what we were doing works, then we would start to see growth, right, of paying customers and users, right? We would start to see more demand for the asset. We can't just have HBAR follow the market, right? If we really want this network to be a top 10 network, Pluto digging the song. Brother, this is RuneScape. This is RuneScape music, right? But that's what we want to see. We want to see TVL, right? Total value locked on the network. We want to see it go up, right? The value of HBAR is going down a bit. The amount of total value locked is going down a bit. So that's been going down, right? Stablecoin market cap. How many stablecoins are on Hedera? That has been going down, right? The HBAR price has been going down. New transactions on the network, it's not going up. Active smart contracts, not a whole lot of action. Active accounts, kind of just, we're in the zone, we're doing the best we can, but we're not really seeing growth in usage of the network. So we're kind of flatlining or declining. We're not really seeing a ton of that stuff. And so I understand the frustrations for people when they go on the timeline and they see stuff like this. Dude, X is kind of busting. Yes, we got like awards for Director of the Year, finalist for Team of the Year award. I mean, come on, guys. Read the room, right? We don't need awards right now. I don't understand why we're talking about awards when we got a lot of problems, right? We got to get things rocking and rolling. So that kind of stuff is tough. You know what I mean? It's tough. I'm just being honest. I'm just being straight. I mean, am I going to be the most unemployable person in the ecosystem? Maybe so, but I want to see the success of this network more than being liked. I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, when I'm back, we'll be able to take some more calls and everything like that. But I just wanted to kind of break it down from a marketing perspective. Like, what does marketing actually mean beyond just, oh, we got almost 200 people in here. Let's go. If you're tuning in, share it, share the stream, blast it out, make it happen. We're going to fix Hedera marketing. We're hanging in there. We're going to continue chatting. It's not over yet. We have some more things to talk about. I'm going to grab another beverage and we're going to get ready to take some calls. It sounds like it makes sense. I don't know. Call in. It's brandy.com/hotline. I'm going to take this down now because I don't want to go too crazy, but Hedera marketing. Oh. We talked about how everything kind of fits together, how everything kind of hunks together, how it all works. Now, let's look at the timeline a little bit.